Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Well, friends, for this week's spread, I am using 3 decks by James R. Eads. One is the Cosma Visions Oracle, the brand new deck. The other 2 are his 2 long-standing tarot decks, the Prisma Visions Tarot and the Light Visions Tarot, in addition to my inquiry cards. And friends, if you are interested in finding out more information about these cards, there will be pictures at the end of the video, and below there will be links to where you can go if you want to purchase them yourself. So friends, without further ado, let's take a look into the spread and dive right in. So friends, you can see that I took a very wide shot of this spread because I wanted to show you the spread cloth. I got this spread cloth with the decks from James R. Eads, and I think that he's still selling the cloth on his site. It's beautiful. On one side, there's the navy blue that you see. On the reverse side, it's a similarly toned forest green, and both sides coordinate beautifully with his decks, absolutely beautifully. The weight of the cloth is heavy enough so it doesn't slide around. The texture of the material is lovely to feel. It's a velvet-like feel to it. It's gorgeous, and I wanted to show you. Now, this is originally a week ahead spread that I laid last weekend at the time of this video. And after I laid the spread, I looked at it and I thought, you know, this is a very relevant, a very appropriate spread for investigating questions, the same questions in the spread as they relate to living an intentional life. So I thought I'd bring the spread in here now to do this video. And the 3 questions that we're looking at are, 1, how can I express more love? And if you've been here before, you know love is one of those emotions that are very important to living an intentional life, and we'll go into that in more detail. The second question is, what needs to be completed? What needs to be completed? And that is a problematic word, completed. Problematic in that it needs to be evaluated before we answer it. And we will do that. And then the third question is, how can I shine more brightly? And shining brightly is a sign that we are living an intentional life. So, friends, first, let's look at the central card, the thesis statement of this spread. Let's look. The first card is from the Oracle deck, the Cosma Visions Oracle. And it is called the Composer. But if you look at it, it looks a little bit more like a conductor to me than a composer. But of course, many composers are also conductors. And in the card, you can see a person, arms raised, in the pose of both a conductor leading an orchestra and also a magician. And this conductor-composer, I believe, is also a magician. In a tarot deck, this card is a mirror to the Page of Cups. Now, to me, looking at this card, what I see is a flow of energy rising from the water, from our emotions, from our unconscious, from the unifying unconscious perhaps, but a stream of energy rising up from the water through the composer or the conductor and then out into creation. And that is the movement or the flow of energy which we can experience when living an intentional life. The conductor or the composer is using energy. Yeah? The energy of creation and inspiration flows through us when we live an intentional life. Yeah? The powerful force of intention carries us forward and also flows through us. And as it flows through us, we direct it, we use it, we harness it to create. We harness it to manifest the experiences we want to experience in the future and in the present, because the future is just the present extended. We ride the energy of creation through experiences, from experience to experience. And you can see that in this card as well. The energy flows through the conductor, but perhaps it's also carrying the conductor forward. We perform acts of alchemy when we live an intentional life. We perform acts of alchemy, directing energy through us into creation, combining it, shaping it, forming it, flowing it into manifestation. And all of this must be done with an open heart. Imagine if in this image of the composer's heart were closed down in anxiety or in frustration or in depression or in fear. That flow of energy would come up and not be able to move forward. Yeah? Our hearts can block the flow of energy. Our hearts can block the flow of intention through us, not around us. It's always flowing. We cannot stop the powerful flow of intention. Intention is going whether you want it or not. It's going. The question is, how well are we directing it? How well are we shaping it? How well are we manifesting with it? And an open heart is a heart that allows the energy to flow through, which also helps to shape and create with that energy. So to live an intentional life, we want to be the composer. We want to be the conductor. We want to be the one who flows with the powerful force of intention and the one who shapes and creates with it. Let's look at the first question of this spread. So friends, the first question of this first paragraph of the spread is, how can I express more love? And I'm sure you know, and if you've been around this channel long enough, you've heard me say that love is one of those emotions that are very important to living an intentional life, because it is an indication of how well we are flowing with the powerful force of intention. When love is around us, when we are feeling the love from within and around us, we know that we are flowing with our intention. And when our hearts are open, when the power of intention flows through our hearts as we express love, we are expressing intention into manifestation. We are expressing intention into manifestation in a state of joy from a place of well-being in pure awareness. And that's why at the end of each video, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness, because those are our natural states before we entered these bodies. And as we are in these bodies, we are those things. And the more we express those things and be those things, the more we know that we are open to the power of intention. And the more we know that we are creating with intention. We are using alchemy. We're transmuting energy into experience and energy into matter. And so that is the first question. How can I express more love? And what better question for living an intentional life? And the answer to that question, the first answer, is the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands is usually thought of in the Rider-Waite-Smith system as the card of creativity, sexuality, and also inspiration. And all of those are part of expressing love. In the card from the James R. Eads deck, you can see the one wand standing there radiating energy. And that's radiating love. Yeah? We can express love by expressing our creativity, by expressing our passion, by expressing and radiating our sexuality. All of those things are part of expressing love. It's the card of inspiration. When we flow with our inspiration, when we move with our inspiration, when we feel our inspiration, we're radiating love. It's the card of new opportunities. Because when we are expressing love, everything seems like a new opportunity. Do you remember when you fell in love recently, hopefully recently, or fell in love again recently, hopefully recently? That feeling that everything is new, everything is fresh, everything is an opportunity. That is expressing love. Also, it's a card of potential, because we know when we are expressing love, there is potential everywhere. The entire universe is potential for growth, for expansion, for more love. And like the wand, we radiate power when we are expressing love. We are the power. The power is love. And beside it, we have the Nine of Wands. And in the Rider-Waite system, usually it's a man standing bandaged, bleeding a little bit, in front of 8 other wands, leaning on his one wand for support. And it's a card of perhaps, it's a card of resilience, of courage in the face of being beaten up, if you will. It's a card of perseverance. So how can that relate to expressing love? It's also a card of, first, let me answer this part. There are 2 parts to this. One part is, yes, we want resilience. We want courage. We want perseverance when we live the intentional life. Because when we live with our hearts open and flow with the power of intention in this wonderful world of duality. We came into this world of duality, of likes and dislikes, of wants and not wanting. We came here intentionally to experience this because it is so interesting, because there's so much to discover and to make choices and to create new things. That duality is part of the interest and excitement of living in this physical universe. And sometimes that duality will knock us off our boat, will knock us off our feet. And that's where we want to have that resilience, to get back up, to open back up, to get back in the boat, to flow with our intention. If we don't have it, what we will do when we get knocked down and knocked over is we will protect, we will defend, we will close down. And that state is not a state of an intentional life. It's a state of resisting the flow of intention. And that's okay. That is okay. We all get to that place sometime or another. Sometimes or other times. It's not a one-time thing. It's not like, well, okay, I went through that horrible experience. I'll never have a horrible experience again. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, we are often going to get knocked off of our boat. And so, to be the one who expresses love is the one to have that resilience, to be able to get back in, to open back up, to flow forward again. It's also a card of setting boundaries. Not boundaries in defense from other people. Not boundaries in defense of ourselves. Not hiding behind boundaries, but perhaps setting limits for our attention. We often give attention to many things that do not help us. Sometimes in media, sometimes in social networks, sometimes just in the environment around us. We give attention to things that are not beneficial. And we want to limit some of the information that comes in, because not all of the information that comes in is going to help us. Some of it is actually garbage. Some of it is information that is best just allowed to pass out of our awareness. That's where we want to set the boundaries. We want to set the boundaries to our attention. What will we let in to our sphere of attention? Now, this is not the same as, what do they call it? Toxic positivity or hiding your head in the sand. Think of it like a television. You have a television in front of you with hundreds and hundreds of channels on a cable network. If you allowed all of that information into your sphere of attention, you would be overwhelmed, and most of it would be less than helpful. Most of it would be information or experiences that would unnecessarily knock you out of your boat. I'm keeping this boat image going. Knock you out of your boat. You want to limit what you let into your sphere of attention. Yeah? When a channel comes up that is showing you things that you know are just going to get you angry for no reason, that's the time to move on. That's the time to let your boundaries come into play. Not everything needs or wants your attention. Social media, the same. There are things that are best to just let bounce right off. A troll wants to come into your experience, let that troll bounce right off. That's the kind of boundary that is helpful when you want to express more love. Because your love can shine through that boundary. And the things that are going to close you off can bounce right off. Okay, friends, let's look at the next question and the next paragraph in this essay of a spread. The next question is, what needs to be completed? Now, this is a problematic question because completion in this question does not mean finished, because nothing is finished in an intentional life. Being finished is death, and there is no death in this universe. There is only change. Nothing truly dies. Nothing is truly finished. And that's why you never get things wrong. You never get things wrong because, as one of my favorite teachers, Abraham Hicks, says, you never get it wrong because you never get it done. What looks like getting something wrong is just a sign that you need to move in a slightly different direction. So, what does completed mean in this question? What needs to be completed? What needs to be accomplished? Accomplished in the sense of manifested, or what needs to be embodied. Now, what do we need to complete for ourselves? Not finish, but complete. Make whole. And the first answer to that question is the Queen of Chalices, or the Queen of Cups. And here's another card of energy flowing. You can see the Queen of Cups is receiving energy from below and from beside her, and she is letting it all pass through her, and she's affecting it. This is the card of compassion and empathy, because we want to connect with the people around us and with the environment around us. We don't want to be knocked over by it. We don't want to be changed by it. We want to be aware of it and be able to respond to it and to be able to flow that energy through us and be able to create with it. For example, if you see someone sad in front of you, if you go down and be sad with that person, you're not going to help them. If you see someone who's depressed in front of you and you go down and be depressed with that person, you're not going to help them. You're not going to help yourself. But we want to understand, we want to understand that person, compassion, and we want to be able to feel what that feeling is like without that person having to tell us if we can't, which is empathy. We want to feel it but not become it. We want to feel it and respond to it. Respond to it in love. Respond to it with the love of the previous paragraph. We want to respond it by flowing love in return. So that is what the Queen of Cups is, the compassionate, empathetic one who flows love in return. She is the warm and tender one. She is the one who is emotionally stable, but also the one who flows in response and accepts and responds in love. She is the intuitive one. You can see that flow of energy coming from the unconscious, from below, from our dark, quiet waters of the mind, and also flowing with that energy and that information. That is the Queen of Cups, especially in flow. Because as we flow with the powerful force of intention, we want to flow, have it flow through us. And that is part of the creation process of the composer, of the conductor, of the stream and river of intention. And the card next to it is the card of the Nine of Swords, or the Nine of Swords. This card of anxiety, the card of worry, the card of fear and depression. And when we embody the Queen of Cups, when we complete the Queen of Cups for ourselves, we realize that we are going to come into moments of feeling that fear, that anxiety, that worry, or that depression from within us or from our environments. And we have to be able to accept that and respond to it, if possible, whenever possible, with love. When we feel that anxiety coming up from within us, we need to be able to face it. We need to be able to look it in the face and examine it, and then respond with love for ourselves first, and then for those around us. So what needs to be completed? The Queen of Cups needs to be completed. And in the completion of the Queen of Cups, we will be more able to respond to those times when we are experiencing, from within or without, the Nine of Swords, anxiety, worry, fear, and maybe depression. Friends, let's look at the third question of this essay, of a spread. The last question of this spread says, how can I shine more brightly? And when we are being the composer, the conductor, we are shining brightly. Do you remember that card, the first card of this spread, the conductor, the composer? How the composer sparkles with energy as it flows through him or her. How can I shine more brightly? Well, one way is to express more love, embody the love. And then the third answer is to be nimble. It's the Seven of Wands. And often the Seven of Wands is a card of competition or fighting off, defending your place. But in this deck, in James R. Eads' deck, you can see a person leaping from wand to wand over the water, over a sea, a perhaps somewhat turbulent sea, or at least rippling sea, water of emotion, leaping from wand to wand. So in this deck, what I see from this card is being nimble, being agile, to hop from wand to wand. We want to take on the challenge of passing over the turbulence, of leaping over the turbulence. We want to experience the competition with ourselves, the competition to be the shiniest, to be the most loving. We want to have the perseverance to keep going. We want to have the tenacity to keep moving from wand to wand, even though it looks difficult, even though we might be a little concerned that we might not be able to do it. We want to be able to continue going. And that is the 7 of Wands in response to shining more brightly. Have you ever seen an athlete who is competing tenaciously in competition and taking on the challenge of a game? The athlete who is shining brightly in the competition. That glow, that radiance of an athlete enjoying the moment, loving what he or she is doing in the moment. That's how we can shine more brightly when living the intentional life. Being nimble, being agile, taking on the challenge. And the next card, the 2 of Wands, the card of the dream, remembering that as we compete, as we are nimble, as we are leaping forward, that our dream is never completed. Now we want to complete the Queen of Wands, but our dreams are never completed. The dream is never completely finished. As we move forward, as we progress, as we flow with the current of intention, we continually develop our dreams. Our dreams evolve. We discover new things and we include them into our stream, our river of intention. We envision progress and evolution. That is the 2 of cards, the 2 of Wands card. So, how can we shine more brightly? 1, take on the challenge. Take on the challenge of flowing with intention, and remember to continue the creation, continue dreaming. The goal that we think is a goal is not an end point. It's just a milestone on the course. And we continue envisioning into the future, which is the 2 of Wands. So friends, that's how we be the composer. That is how we be the composer. That's how we become the composer. And that's how we flow in the powerful life of an intentional life. We, 1, radiate love. We become and embody the Queen of Cups who receives and flows love. We become the athlete who is nimble and agile and sparkling shiny and continuing to envision the manifestations and experiences for the future. That's the intentional life. That's living life intentional to the fullest. And maybe we can't do it all the time. But have you felt the times when you were there, when you felt yourself glowing, when you felt sparkling, or when people said, you are shining today, you are sparkling? Do you remember times like that? I'd like to hear about it. Tell me in the comments below, when have you felt yourself radiating love, being the Queen of Cups, shining brightly like an athlete? Tell me, and let's talk about it. I'd love to talk to you. And friends, if you feel inspired, hit the like button. If you want to know when these videos are uploaded, subscribe and hit the alarm button. And share this with someone who you think might be interested. I'd love to see this go out into the world. And friends, as always, there will be information about the cards in just a second. And I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.